The restaurant overlooked Central Park, all floor-to-ceiling windows and white tablecloths, the kind of place where the prix fixe menu started at $200 per person. My father's 65th birthday celebration was exactly what he'd wanted. Elegant, expensive, surrounded by family and his closest colleagues from 40 years in investment banking. 25 guests filled the private dining room. My parents at the head of the table looking distinguished and proud. My brother Andrew and his wife Christina, both corporate lawyers at white shoe firms. My sister Michelle and her husband, both doctors. Various aunts, uncles, cousins and my father's business associates. All successful, all accomplished, all perfectly dressed for the occasion. And then there was me. I sat near the middle of the table in a simple black dress from Zara, my hair loose, minimal makeup, checking my phone while everyone around me networked and discussed their achievements. I looked exactly like what my family thought I was. The disappointing daughter who'd never figured out how to be successful. "Emma, darling, put your phone away," my mother said, her voice carrying that particular tone of long-suffering patience. "This is your father's birthday. The least you can do is be present." "Sorry, Mom." I slipped the phone into my bag. The email could wait. My CTO wanting approval on the latest algorithm update for our diagnostic platform. It had already waited through appetizers. It could wait through the main course. "Emma works so hard," my Aunt Linda said charitably. "What is it you do again, sweetheart?" "Something with computers." "I work in tech," I said vaguely. "Tech," my Uncle Richard repeated, the word somehow both a question and a dismissal. "That's wonderful. Doing what, exactly? Are you in IT support?" "Something like that." "IT support is honest work," my mother said quickly as if defending me. "Not everyone can be a lawyer or a doctor. Someone has to help people reset their passwords." A few people chuckled. I sipped my water. "Emma's been doing the same job for 7 years, my brother Andrew added. He meant it sympathetically but it came out patronizing. "Same position, same company. No promotions, no advancement. But hey, job security, right?" 7 years in one position, Christina said, shaking her head. "Andrew made partner in 6. But everyone's path is different, I suppose." "Very different," Michelle chimed in. "I made attending physician in 5 years. But tech is probably less competitive. Lower barriers to advancement." "Or no advancement at all," Andrew muttered, just loud enough for the table to hear. My father cleared his throat. "Let's not focus on career talk. This is supposed to be a celebration." "You're right, dear," my mother agreed. "Though I was just thinking, 35 is such a milestone age. And here we are, celebrating your 65th, and it got me thinking about accomplishments. About legacy." She looked around the table, her expression wistful. "Andrew, you made partner at Morrison and Finch. Michelle, you're the chief of your department. Even your cousin David," she nodded at my cousin across the table, "just sold his startup for $30 million. $28 million, David corrected modestly. "But who's counting?" Everyone laughed. "My point is," my mother continued, "at 35, you should have something to show for your years. A career trajectory, a marriage, children, property, something that says, I've built a life." She wasn't looking at me directly, but everyone else was. "Emma's 35, my Aunt Linda said quietly. Oh dear. At 35 with no accomplishments," my mother said, and now she was looking at me, her eyes sad. It's sad, isn't it? Not even married or promoted. Still in the same entry-level tech support position. Still living in that tiny apartment, still driving that old Honda. "Mom," Michelle said but weakly. "I'm not being cruel," my mother protested. "I'm being honest. Emma's my daughter and I love her, but at some point we have to acknowledge reality. She's 35 years old with nothing to show for it. No husband, no children, no career advancement, no assets. Just existing." The table had gone quiet. Even the servers had stopped refilling water glasses. "She's tried," my father said, attempting kindness. "Haven't you, Emma? You work hard at your little computer job. It's just not a field with much growth potential for someone without advanced degrees." "I didn't finish my master's," I confirmed. "I'd dropped out of Stanford's computer science program after 1 semester because I'd gotten funding for my company. But I didn't mention that part." "See," my mother said. "No master's degree, no MBA, Nothing to distinguish herself. Meanwhile, her siblings have excelled. Andrew, will you tell everyone about the Thornton merger you're working on? As Andrew launched into a story about a $400 million corporate merger, I pulled out my phone again. 3 new emails. One from our head of research about the Phase 3 clinical trial results, one from our CFO about the upcoming board meeting, and one from my assistant confirming tomorrow's schedule. 8 a.m. Stanford lecture, 10 a.m. investor meeting, 2 p.m. FDA presentation, 6 p.m. Forbes interview. The Forbes interview. Right. That was supposed to be during dinner, but I'd asked them to push it to tomorrow. Apparently they hadn't gotten the message. Emma, phone away, my mother snapped. This is exactly what I'm talking about. No social skills, no awareness, just staring at her phone like a teenager. Sorry, I murmured, putting it away again. The entrees arrived, dry-aged steaks, Dover sole, duck confit. The sommelier poured a burgundy that probably cost $300 per bottle. Around me, successful people discussed their successful lives, making plans for ski trips and charity galas and summer homes in the Hamptons. Emma, what are your plans for the summer? Christina asked, trying to include me. Any vacations? I'll be traveling quite a bit, I said. Oh. Where to? Geneva, Tokyo, Singapore. Some other cities. For work. She looked surprised that my IT support job would involve international travel. Conferences and meetings. How nice. Will your company pay for it or is it out of pocket? The company will cover it. Well, that's something, she said brightly. Free travel. That's a nice perk. Emma gets very few perks, my mother interjected. No stock options, no bonus structure, no retirement matching. Just a basic salary with basic benefits. It's not the kind of position that comes with real rewards. To be fair, Andrew said, not everyone is cut out for high-stakes careers. Some people are happier in support roles. There's no shame in that. Of course not, Michelle agreed. The world needs IT support people. Emma's providing a valuable service. I just wish she'd provide value to our family tree, my mother said, her voice sharp with wine and disappointment. 35 and single. Not even dating anyone seriously. How am I supposed to answer when people ask about my children? Andrew's a partner, Michelle's a department chief, and Emma resets passwords. Mom, I said quietly, that's not exactly what I do. Then what do you do? She challenged. Explain it to me. In simple terms, what is your job? I hesitated. This was always the tricky part. How do you explain that you're the CEO and founder of an AI healthcare diagnostics company valued at $4.2 billion without sounding insane? How do you mention that you've developed algorithms that detect cancer years earlier than traditional methods, that you've published in Nature and Science, that you're about to receive FDA approval for a platform that could save millions of lives? You don't. Because they wouldn't believe you anyway. I develop software, I said simply. Software, my Uncle Richard repeated. What kind? Medical applications. Like what? Scheduling systems for hospitals. Patient portals. Something like that. How much does that pay? My cousin David asked bluntly. If you don't mind me asking. I'm just curious about the tech support salary range. David, his mother gasped. That's rude. No, it's fine, I said. I make a comfortable living. Define comfortable, Andrew pressed. Because in New York, comfortable means different things to different people. Christina and I need to clear $800,000 combined just to maintain our lifestyle. What's comfortable for you? $60,000. $70,000. I don't like to discuss exact numbers, I said. Which means it's low, Christina whispered to the person next to her, not quietly enough. The point is, my mother said, raising her voice to recapture attention, that at 35, Emma should have achieved something notable. Something we can brag about to our friends. Instead, we have to change the subject whenever she comes up. That's harsh, Margaret, my Aunt Linda said. Is it though? Look around this table. Everyone here has accomplished something. Everyone has built something. Except Emma, who's been coasting on mediocrity for over a decade. The servers were back, clearing plates, their faces carefully neutral. One of them, Michael, I knew his name because I'd reviewed the entire restaurant staff roster before tonight, caught my eye and gave a tiny, sympathetic shrug. Maybe Emma's a late bloomer, Michelle offered charitably. Some people don't hit their stride until their 40s. She's not going to bloom, Andrew said. She's been at the same company in the same position for 7 years. That's not someone on a career trajectory. That's someone who's plateaued. My phone buzzed in my bag. I ignored it. It buzzed again. And again. For God's sake, Emma, my father said, if it's that important, just answer it. I pulled out my phone to find 5 missed calls from my assistant and 3 texts. * Forbes crew is here. They insist on doing the shoot tonight. They brought equipment. They're in the lobby. What should I tell them? *. I closed my eyes. Of course this was happening now. Emma, my mother prompted. Everything okay? Fine, I said. Just a work thing. Work emergency on a Saturday night? Andrew laughed. What, did someone's computer crash? Something like that. My phone rang again. I answered. Julia, I told them tomorrow. I know, my assistant said, but they flew the photographer in from London specifically for tonight. They have the Forbes editor on video call waiting to interview you. They said you confirmed this week. They're not leaving. Fine. Give me 5 minutes. I'll come down to the lobby. Actually, Julia said carefully, they want to shoot in the restaurant. Natural setting, they said. They're coming up. Julia, no. But it was too late. The private dining room door opened and a crew entered. 3 people with cameras, lighting equipment and official Forbes credentials hanging from lanyards. The table went silent. A man in his 40s approached me, his press badge clearly visible. Forbes magazine's senior photographer. Miss Taylor? I'm David Chen from Forbes. I apologize for the confusion on timing, but our magazine's deadline moved up. We need to shoot your cover story tonight. Every eye in the room was on me. Cover story? My mother said faintly. I'm sorry, I said to David, standing up. This is my father's birthday dinner. Can we please do this tomorrow? We have the editor on video call, David pressed. She flew in from our San Francisco bureau specifically for this interview. It's the cover story for our technology innovation issue. Miss Taylor, your company's valuation just hit $4.2 billion. This is the biggest healthcare AI story of the decade. We need to run it. 4.2 billion, someone at the table whispered. Her company, my brother said. David pulled out a tablet and turned it toward the table, showing a Forbes magazine cover mock-up. The headline read, The Cancer Killer, How Emma Taylor's AI is Revolutionizing Early Detection and Saving Millions of Lives. My face was photoshopped onto the cover, looking far more professional than I did currently. What? My mother started. Miss Taylor founded Diagnosticare AI 7 years ago. David explained to the room, clearly thinking he was being helpful. She developed an artificial intelligence platform that can detect cancer from routine blood tests years before tumors become visible on scans. The technology uses machine learning to identify molecular patterns that human doctors miss. It's approved for use in 12 countries and just received breakthrough designation from the FDA. The birthday cake sat forgotten, candles unlit. The company recently raised $800 million in Series D funding, David continued, checking his notes. Current valuation is $4.2 billion. Ms. Taylor owns 73% of the company, making her equity stake worth approximately $3.1 billion. She's been named to the Forbes 30 Under 30 list, the Time 100 Next, and just last month, Fortune named her one of the 50 most influential business leaders under 40. $3 billion, my father said, his voice hollow. Her platform has been used to screen over 8 million patients, David went on. It's detected cancers in roughly 47,000 people who had no symptoms and no family history. Doctors estimate the technology has saved approximately 12,000 lives so far by catching cancer early enough for successful treatment. 12,000 lives, my Aunt Linda breathed. Ms. Taylor holds 18 patents, David said, warming to his subject. She published breakthrough research in Nature, Science, and the New England Journal of Medicine. She has a BS in computer science from MIT, graduated first in her class at age 19, and she was pursuing her PhD at Stanford when she dropped out to start Diagnosticare. She didn't finish her master's because she was building a billion-dollar company, Michelle said slowly. Correct. And now we'd like to photograph her for our cover story. The interview will focus on her journey from MIT prodigy to Stanford dropout to healthcare revolutionary. We're calling it the $3 billion dropout who's curing cancer. I'm not curing cancer, I said quietly. I'm just helping detect it earlier. Earlier detection that saves thousands of lives, David corrected. Miss Taylor, can we set up over by the windows? The lighting is perfect. This is my father's birthday dinner. Emma, my father interrupted, standing up. Emma, is this real? Is this true? I looked at my father, at his shocked face, at my mother's pale expression, at my siblings' matching looks of disbelief. Yes, I said simply. It's true. You founded a company, my mother said. A company worth billions. 4.2 billion current valuation. Though that'll change after the FDA approval is announced. We're expecting it to jump to around 6 billion. And you never told us, Andrew said. I tried. Multiple times. But every time I mentioned my company or my research, you changed the subject. You weren't interested in tech stuff. You wanted to talk about your merger deals and medical cases and real accomplishments. But a billion-dollar company, Christina started, is still tech stuff to you, I said. Still computers, still boring, still not as impressive as making partner or becoming department chief. A waiter appeared at my elbow, a different one this time, younger, clearly starstruck. Excuse me, Miss Taylor? I just wanted to say, my mom had stage 1 pancreatic cancer detected by your platform. She had no symptoms. The doctors said if they'd waited even 6 more months for a routine scan, it would have been too late. Your AI saved her life. He was crying. She's been cancer-free for 2 years now, he continued. Because of you. Because of what you built. Thank you. Thank you so much. He hurried away before I could respond. The table was completely silent. Your AI, my mother said faintly. He said your AI saved his mother's life. That's the goal, I said. Early detection. That's what the platform does. It analyzes routine blood work, the kind you get at annual physicals, and it looks for molecular patterns that indicate cancer might be developing. We can catch it years before symptoms appear when it's most treatable. How does it work? Michelle asked. She was a cardiologist suddenly interested in the science. Machine learning trained on millions of blood samples, I explained. We started with data from patients who'd been diagnosed with cancer and worked backward, looking at their blood work from years before. We found patterns, specific combinations of proteins, enzymes, cellular markers that appeared consistently before cancer became clinically detectable. Then we built an AI that could recognize those patterns. That's brilliant, Michelle breathed. It's also incredibly complex, I added. The algorithm considers over 4,000 variables simultaneously. No human doctor could track that many data points, but the AI can. And it's right about 94% of the time. 94%, my father repeated, which is higher than most cancer screening tests. Mammograms are about 87% accurate. Colonoscopies miss about 8% of cancers. Our platform, combined with traditional screening, catches almost everything. David Chin cleared his throat. Miss Taylor, I hate to interrupt, but we really need to start shooting. The magazine goes to print Tuesday. Of course. I looked at my family. Can we do this quickly? I'd like to get back to Dad's celebration. Actually, my father said, standing up, I think this is my celebration now. Emma, when were you going to tell us? I've been trying to tell you for 7 years, I said. But you weren't listening. My mother's face crumbled. We called you a failure. I said you had no accomplishments. You did. But you've saved 12,000 lives. So far. Once we get full FDA approval and scale to all 50 states, we're projecting we'll screen 50 million people annually. Based on cancer detection rates, that's potentially 280,000 early detections per year. If we save even half of those people, that's 140,000 lives, Michelle calculated. Every year. Emma, that's extraordinary. That's the goal. And the 7-year position you've been in? Andrew asked. The one with no promotions? I'm the CEO, I said. I started as CEO. There's nowhere to promote to except chairman of the board, which I also am. The tiny apartment? Christina asked weakly. Is actually a 3,000 square foot penthouse on Central Park West. I bought it 6 years ago for $8 million. It's probably worth $14 million now. But I call it tiny because you all assumed I lived in a studio and I didn't bother correcting you. The old Honda, my mother asked, is a 2016 model that I drive to the office. I also have a Tesla for longer trips, but the Honda has better parking karma. Plus, I don't care about cars. I care about cancer detection algorithms and FDA approval processes and clinical trial data. The Forbes photographer was setting up lights, turning our private dining room into a photo studio. Other diners were peering in, attracted by the commotion. Miss Taylor, David said, can we get you over by the window? We want to capture the city skyline behind you. Very young entrepreneur conquering New York vibes. Can my family be in some of the shots? I asked. It's my father's birthday. I'd like him to be included. Absolutely. We love a family angle. Mr. Taylor, would you stand next to your daughter? My father approached me slowly like I might vanish. Emma, I'm so sorry. We've been terrible to you. You have, I agreed. But I understand why. What I built doesn't look like traditional success. Looks like being glued to a computer working 80-hour weeks, obsessing over datasets. It doesn't look impressive from the outside. It's the most impressive thing anyone in this family has ever done, he said quietly. And we missed it because we were too busy measuring you against their achievements. He gestured at Andrew and Michelle. Their achievements are real too, I said. Andrew's a great lawyer. Michelle saves lives every day as a doctor. We're all contributing in different ways. But you're saving thousands of lives, my mother said, appearing on my other side. Thousands. While we criticized you for not being married or promoted or impressive enough. Marry and promotion aren't everything, I said. Though for the record I'm seeing someone. Another AI researcher. We're both too busy to make it official, but we're happy. What's his name? My mother asked. Her name is Sarah. She runs a competing diagnostics company. We're actually merging next quarter, combining our technologies to create an even more powerful platform. So you're merging companies and getting married? My Aunt Linda asked hopefully. We're discussing both, I said. But probably the merger first. Better tax implications. The photographer started shooting, asking me to turn this way, look at the camera, smile naturally, look contemplative. My father stood beside me for several shots, his arm around my shoulders, looking prouder than I'd ever seen him. Mr. Taylor, David asked, how does it feel to be the father of one of the most innovative healthcare entrepreneurs in the world? My father's eyes filled with tears. I'm ashamed, he said honestly. Ashamed that I didn't know. Ashamed that I didn't ask. Ashamed that I let my daughter build something extraordinary while I complained that she wasn't impressive enough. She's certainly impressive now, David said, checking his camera screen. Ms. Taylor, can you tell our readers what's next for Diagnosticare? FDA approval for our full platform should come through in about 6 weeks, I said. Once that happens, we'll partner with major healthcare systems to integrate our screening into routine blood work. We're also developing platforms for other diseases. Alzheimer's, cardiovascular disease, autoimmune disorders. Any condition that leaves molecular breadcrumbs in blood, we can potentially detect early. And the IPO rumors? David pressed. We're considering going public next year. The valuation would likely be in the $8 to $10 billion range. But we're not in a rush. We want to make sure we're changing healthcare, not just chasing numbers. Even though you'd personally be worth approximately $6 billion after an IPO? Even then, money's not the goal. Saving lives is the goal. Money is just a tool that lets us scale faster. After 20 minutes of photos and questions, David packed up his equipment. Thank you, Ms. Taylor. This is going to be a fantastic cover story. We'll email you the proofs by Wednesday. After they left, the dining room felt very quiet. I ordered your favorite cake, my mother said softly. German chocolate. For your father's birthday. But I didn't know what your favorite was anymore. I haven't asked in years. It's still German chocolate, I said. Some things don't change. But so much has changed, she said. Emma, can we start over? Can we get to know the real you? Not the version we invented because we weren't paying attention. I looked at my family. My brother who'd called me mediocre, my sister who'd pitted my lack of advancement, my mother who'd mourned my lack of accomplishments, my father who'd assumed I'd plateaued. They were flawed. They'd hurt me. But they were trying. The Forbes issue comes out in 3 weeks, I said. Maybe we could do a family dinner when it hits newsstands? You could all read the article, learn about what I've built, and then we could talk. Really talk. We'd love that, my father said. And Dad? I pulled a small box from my bag. Happy birthday. I got you something. He opened it to find a vintage Patek Philippe watch. The same model his father had owned, the one that had been stolen in a burglary 30 years ago. It had taken me 2 years to track down an exact replacement. Emma, he whispered, this must have cost. It cost a fraction of what I make in a year, I said. And it's worth it to see you happy. He put it on with shaking hands, and for the first time that night he looked at me like I was his daughter. Not a disappointment, not a puzzle, but someone he loved and respected. To Emma, he said, raising his wine glass. Who saved 12,000 lives while we weren't looking. Who built a billion-dollar company while we complained about her lack of promotions. Who revolutionized healthcare while we worried about her lack of accomplishments. Everyone raised their glasses. To Emma, they echoed. And for the first time in 7 years, sitting with my family who finally saw me, I felt like I could breathe. The disappointing daughter was gone. The billionaire healthcare revolutionary could finally step into the light. And somewhere 12,000 people were alive because of algorithms I'd written, patterns I'd found, a platform I'd built while my family thought I was just an IT support. That was worth more than any magazine cover. But I had to admit, the look on my mother's face when the Forbes photographer showed up? Pretty satisfying too.